Who knows? And we'll find out. A week from now, they're like, "Oh, a huge hurricane coming in off the coast of Florida." Oh, that's what that was doing. We'll see though.
So if you look at the schematic on the first image, there's like a ring that's right above the center of the assembly, and part of that ring shows a chemical formula along with MMH. This is supposed to represent some kind of 3-axis attitude control thruster system, and then it says deleted. Like this whole thing is deleted, and you can tell this thing is superimposed onto a rocket nacelle.
Yeah.
So why would they delete the space thrusters?
Yeah, well, because they attached a balloon.
Oh, and by the way, there's a ring on the balloon above it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Something screwy's going on, folks. I don't know what, but something screwy's going on.
Right.
They thought no one would notice.
Lockheed Hughes, Raytheon, Harris, and these are all the people behind the project, man. But that means a lot of money went into
Yeah, of note there is a TRW, and I think TRW, I think that was a company that was in the original James Van Allen Saddaloon and Raccoon program around World War II and thereafter.
It really is. Man. This is
like James Van Allen, the Van Allen radiation belts guy, invented the word Saddaloon, and people think flat earthers are crazy for coming up with that term. When the guy who freaking invented this crap, launching balloons off of aircraft carriers in the Pacific, came up with the idea.
It showcases that they really don't know anything about the topic at all.
Yeah. Yep.
Thompson Rammel Woolridge. That's the company. They deal with intercontinental ballistic missiles. They were acquired by Northrop in 2000s. But what was that project you were saying? What was the Saddaloon one, huh?
Yeah, so James Van Allen is kind of like the inventor of satellites, modern satellites, and he came up with two different configurations. One was to launch a rocket and deploy a balloon off a second stage payload into a high altitude position. The second way is the opposite, where you use a balloon to lift a rocket up. And why would you do that? Well, that way you use less fuel to push through denser air. You can just use a buoyant force instead. So use the buoyant force of a balloon to lift a rocket up to a higher position to launch, and then set off the rocket to use thrusters and take care of the rest. Yeah. Which one's more effective? I don't know, but I know that we have examples of Saddaloon launches where you use the rocket first and then deploy a balloon, like the Echo project, Echo 1 and Echo 2, and many others. So it seems to me that version won out. Yep, that's James Van Allen, the Van Allen radiation belt guy. Like I mentioned before, you can read books, historical books about his projects. Like he would take his equipment out on deep into the Pacific on these carrier fleets and would do launches off the flight deck. Yep. Around the time Admiral Byrd did his thing, strangely enough.
It all ties together, huh? They're all part.
It is like NASA being an outgrowth of the space race, and the space race being an outgrowth of something bigger called the International Geophysical Year Project. And the International Geophysical Year Project goes back to the late 1800s, organized by the Habsburg Empire. And you sound like a fucking conspiracy theory lunatic when you bring this up, but this is just a history of so-called scientific exploration, right? Oops. Freaking stopped. Didn't mean to do that. Fucking city driving, guys. Pardon my French.
Oh yeah.
A guy left of me blasted through a stop sign at an intersection. I'm like, what the hell? And so I got confused and I started to blast through it. I'm like, oh shit. And then there's a biker in front of me and just pulled in front. Like, holy crap. It's hard to talk on Discord and do this at the same time. I'm not an Uber driver.
Oh damn.
Anywho.
That's interesting that it's shaped the same way.
Yeah, I hate city driving. If I have to go into the city, it's like a week-long process to like get myself mentally and physically prepared. You know, I got like make sure the vehicle's in top condition. You know, like all the tires are filled. Like windshield
map out the parking garages.
Yeah, I got like exact directions written out. Like a paper return directions written out too. Because sometimes you never know; it might not be exactly the same path back. Got emergency,
or like C9. Good, like it was. Yeah, but there might be people that like they won't be able to like handle like there's no one around me. What? Here, help me! I'm not cluttered by cars. I need traffic. I loved it, dude. It was like
fonts.
Yeah. Hey, can I point something out?
It's going around the ball, and a good example too. I mean, for anybody is, are you falling backwards right now? Because that's what you should be kind of seeing, right? It shouldn't look like it's going away from you. You should feel you have to believe if you're on a globe that you're spinning backward from the sun, like just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's one thing I never really noticed it before, but I always when I come home certain times in the day I've noticed that the sun really is in a different position, like horizon wise too, in a sense. I don't know what I'm saying. Instead of just like being like straight back, it actually is in a different position, like parallel, if that makes sense, I guess.
A little. I think I get what you're saying.
And I never noticed that before, but I definitely notice it now. And since it's easy when it's based on my house because of the road I take,
It's just funny to watch them fucking squirm. And he's just so desperately trying to do like straight up. No, that's not true.
From Newton, by the way, but I digress.
Not aggressive.
Oh no, it's aggressive.
Oh my god, you guys are so aggressive.
I mean, I don't care. Like, if this was my Discord, it would be a lot worse because I always feel very much.
Right now, all the feelings.
You cry until it's no longer. You realize it's not aggressive anymore, and you want to be here. You click this channel.
Yeah, I wanted to hear what you guys think, and I do enjoy it. I'm not crying.
I'm crying about everyone being aggressive towards you.
Okay.
So, go on.
Silly to say.
So subjective.
It's fun.
Your worldview is so subjective, even you can't use it.
I'm fine with my worldview. I just wanted to know
it's
your
fucking
worldview.
broken.
That's
you
all.
think everyone in this room is being hostile to everybody else but you. But when you leave, the conversation continues without you.
You guys are pretty hostile to me too. Yeah.
No one's hostile to anyone. You're making shit up because
You're literally we're started off by calling me a retard.
You are a retard. That's feedback.
And you don't I don't know. Like, if that's not hostile, that's fine.
I'll demonstrate
It's
it.
not hostile.
Okay. I mean, I think this guy Crit is also retarded. That's
You're
fine.
letting your feelings get in the way. You're letting
That's
your
an
feelings
unconditional
get in the way.
acceptance. I know you're retarded, and you know I'm retarded. But the thing is, though, I'm not going to ask you your opinion on something because I already know you're retarded. Meanwhile, you'll ask me about your solar eclipse photo, proven even your own take on something is utter useless and garbage.
If that's your opinion on it, but I believe
right
that
here.
it.
I
I'll say believe because I'm not a scientist. I believe that I believe it was the moon in front of the sun.
You also believe that a room with 4 people in it is alive in a room with 40
I was looking at the wrong Discord channel. It was an empty one. There's one person there.
That's not excuses. You're dropping the excuses.
Okay, that's what happens. So I don't know.
You're just retarded.
All right.
Look at this. They Crit banned everyone that did not want to talk to him about until.
You wanted to talk about yourself. We wanted to talk about flat Earth. That's all it was.
You can change the subject now.
Right now.
Yeah, like, that was kind of aggressive.
Oh no, it's aggressive. Oh my god, you guys are so
I mean, I don't care. Like, if this was my Discord, it would be a lot worse because
you cry until it's no longer. You realize it's not aggressive anymore, and you want to be here. You click this channel.
Where could you go in your backyard or anywhere in reality and make a sand, dirt, granite, rock, grass, any kind of real physical earth curve dirt thing to show me that you could walk away from me within a mile and be walking down around a curb of 8 inches? Put any object on it. What would that even look like to you? Just an 8-inch drop from right to left of an object. One side of it dropping down. What would that look like?
I probably couldn't even see it, honestly.
You couldn't see it? What about a side view?
I don't know. I just don't think I'd be able to.
You don't think you could make a dirt pile, a pile of sand or dirt 1 mile long with 8 inches higher than the other part? You don't think you could do that as a human? Are you stupid?
I mean, I probably could, but I don't know.
So let's do it. Why is that so hard for you boys to do?
If we want to agree on stuff, we need to define terms. And if we can't define, if we can't accept that, we can't come to an understanding, then we have a problem. We can't have a conversation.
Yeah, and there's no way to do that unless the definitions of words are arbitrary.
Unfortunately, they're not. What we're talking.
Fortunately for you, they are. That's why we can agree on them, right? The whole reason we have to lay out our terms and agree to them at the beginning of a conversation is because the definitions of all words are arbitrary.
What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Shut your hole, man. Embarrassing yourself.
That's crazy. So in order to have a conversation with anybody, you all have to find all the words you're going to use in your conversation, define them first, agree that you agree on it, and then you can start talking.
At the very least, you would have to agree on this. Yes. Because if I say chair, and I mean one thing, and you hear chair, and you understand it to mean a different thing, we're not going to have a
Okay, tell us anyone who thinks that a chair is a different thing than a chair. You're fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was an example.
Yeah, retarded. So that's not an example.
It is an example.
Yeah, this is the level of intelligence you have, bro.
Yeah. So far, nothing I've said has been refuted.
So we don't need to repeat it.
All you guys have done is go, oh, but semantics.
It falls flat in his face, man. Why would we?
Are you working with your personal dictionary? The one where you put your personal definition for the words?
Faulkner was a PhD in astrophysics, and he was asked how do you have gas pressure container. He couldn't say anything.
What was the name again?
Danny Faulkner.
Even know many of the basic fundamentals of the globe, right? Because they probably spent a week or something during their university learning about, particular things, right, in relation to this, right? They took all of this as assumed fact, right? The globe, the radius, right? The motion of the earth, outer space, right? They never questioned any of that, right? They're just repeating and regurgitating information, right, in their particular field that they're studying, and that's how they get their degrees. And then they come in here and parrot it. And then when we ask them to validate the core fundamentals that are required for those things to be able to happen, right, they're not able to validate it, right, because they never checked.
And the good thing was with Donnie Faulkner, it wasn't over a text message or it wasn't over a Discord. It was live when they asked him, "How do you have gas pressure without a container?" And he couldn't respond not one word. He couldn't search anything up. He couldn't Google anything. He had nothing. He stood quiet and just looked at the person dumbfounded.
Oh, that's who I was talking to. Was Lats? Are you there, Lats?
Oh yeah, I'm here. What's up, dude?
So I think we were talking past each other in the side chat.
Oh, you guys here to apologize to each other now? That's sweet.
No, so he had pointed something out, and it might have just been the way that I structured the paragraph regarding the experimentation testing for a particular hypothesis. And I think that's just why we were talking past each other.
Well, the thing was you just claimed gravity as your cause for effective gas pressure on Earth, which is a validation of that through experimentation.
No, I was including it as part of the hypothesis, and then we do the experimentation based around that hypothesis. The way that I had said it in the paragraph was... Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, you can say it again.
Right, so the hypothesis being that there would be effects, that we would observe particular effects on gas molecules due to gravity, right? And then you go out and do the experiment that collects the relevant data regarding the change in the gas molecules due to elevation under, due to the effect of gravity. I forget exactly how I worded it. Let me see if I can go find it. I think that was part of the thing that I was disputing, is that within experimentations under a given hypothesis, we use observation to help support the data.
Well, in that case, you would be observing the thing that you're causing with your hypothesis to see if it matches the initial observation. So you have to cause the gas pressure gradient with gravity to your hypothesis for gas pressure.
I guess I'm not understanding what you mean by you would have to cause that effect if you're observing the effect in nature, right?
Yeah, so it's like the thing that I was telling you earlier with lakes, right? Like if you observe a frozen lake, you can hypothesize that it was a temperature drop that caused that lake to freeze. So you would go home or whatever, and you take some of the lake water, reduce temperature, see if you can get it to freeze. So you'd be varying your hypothesis, which was the temperature, to empirically prove that temperature can cause the lake water to freeze.
Oh, so if I were to word it like this, right, where we observe the gradient pressure change in gas molecules due to higher and lower elevation, right, and we hypothesize that gravity is the cause of that effect, and we go out and do the experimentation, does that further support? Would that be a more appropriate way of stating that? I think that's why it was
experimentation.
So that would be more coherent, but for the experiment, you would then have to use gravity to create a gas pressure gradient adjacent to lower pressure to make it analogous to what you guys claim is next to Earth's quote unquote atmosphere.
Well, we're wanting to explain the relevant data, which is the change in the pressure, right? The difference in the gas molecules and the higher and lower elevation.
Well, if you just want to explain the gradient, sure, but with that gas pressure gradient would still be adjacent to lower pressure.
Yeah, an explanation is not going to be.
I guess that might not be what I guess that's the part I'm just not understanding, and I apologize. Because that was my thought. I was like, well, if we have the available data, the observable phenomenon of that gradient pressure, right, due to higher and lower elevation, and then we posit gravity as being the effect or what causes that gradient, there's some non-validity in that. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, you would have to demonstrate whatever you claim as the cause or effect of that gas pressure gradient. If you're going to use gravity, then you have to use gravity to create a gas pressure gradient following the scientific method.
The horizon remains horizontal either way.
So,
yeah, this is just to debunk any claims or pictures, photos, videos, satellites, whatever, balls of gas in space, like whatever, anything from outer space cannot have happened or is impossible to happen because you cannot go to a place that is still yet to be proven to exist.
Okay, I can suppose I grant that. I guess I'm still just confused. Is the dispute then that gravity can't be used as one of the relative explanatory mechanisms for that experiment? Is that what you're pushing back against?
Explanation is not enough, bro. You need experimentation.
Well, we've already discussed why the experiment is including the relevant data.
You can use like whatever.
No. Sorry,
Go
bro.
ahead.
You need to physically manipulate your independent variable to see it causes a change.
Wait. Why
That's
is that the
experiment.
case? Why is that the case?
Because that's what a scientific experiment is, bro.
Wait, so you think that all scientific experiments rely on manipulating the actual phenomenon, even if it occurs naturally?
What is a scientific experiment? Tell us.
No. I asked you. Do you think that all scientific experiments rely? So say I don't, right? Let's say we grant that doesn't even matter. No. I'm pushing back against this stupid statement that you need to manipulate all of the factors in order to do a scientific experiment.
So you deny what science is. Got it.
So before we have individual tools to do rigorous experimentation, do you think that we can't do science?
Bro, you demonstrated you don't know what science is. Go ahead. Tell us what the three constituent parts of a scientific experiment is. Go ahead.
I still don't understand what this has to do.
I know you don't
understand. No. I don't understand why that's. I don't understand why that's relevant.
Out of your league, bro. It is relevant. You're out of your league.
How so? Do you care? Do you care to present an argument that explains why it is the case that you need to manipulate all of the independent variables during an experiment?
All of the independent variables. This guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about, bro.
If it
all
occurs,
of the independent variables. Listen to this guy.
The scientific method requires
you posturing to everybody in the room doesn't prove me wrong.
Independent variable. What do you mean all the independent variables? The fuck are you talking about?
Do you not think there's independent variables in the experiment?
No, there's one. You're talking. It's called an independent, bruh.
Right, there's individual variables. That's why they're independent.
Oh, now it's an individual variable, guys. This guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about. Dude, why are you just stop yapping, dude? Let Tita tell you what science is, and then you can actually learn something.
Yeah. So again, you still haven't explained why it is the case that you need to
because you haven't stopped yappachino for 5 seconds for someone to correct.
No, you just haven't actually given a coherent response.
Because you won't shut up.
Yeah, science is about cause and effect. So if you see an effect, you're going to try to find out the cause. So you're going to have to test that cause to see if it is the cause for the effect. How do you do that? Well, you have to vary and manipulate that cause. Yeah, the independent variable.
That's what I'm asking you. Why do you need to physically manipulate the cause?
Why do you need? How else would you determine the cause for this effect? You just guess? And then how do you confirm?
So then what do you mean by manipulate?
All right. Well, let's say we're trying to find the cause for why water boils. Yeah?
Okay.
Well, what would you just, let's say one of the causes would be heat. So you would vary the heat. Maybe at a low temperature, the water doesn't boil. Maybe at a medium temperature, it starts to simmer or some shit.
So if I stick my finger in the hot, hot water, does that explain the relevant data?
No.
Why not?
Why don't you walk us through how it would?
So if I come across something that's hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Presumably hot, right? I stick my hand in it.
Let's be specific. Like what?
Like a natural spring.
Okay, so we go to a natural spring. You put your finger in it.
Right.
What have you? Now what?
It burns my finger.
Okay. And then what?
So that's an experiment.
No, you have no clue what you're talking about.
I don't understand what the distinction would be. Is it just the tools that we're using?
What are you trying to do? What are you okay, so you found a hot spring, you put your finger in. Like, what is your goal here? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, didn't we just say that we're trying to figure out whether it's hot?
No, bro. Science is about cause and effect. So if you're like, the spring is really hot. I wonder why. Putting your finger in there, it doesn't give you the answer. You fucking retard. You have to find out why it's hot it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to figure out, why is this spring boiling, or why is it so hot, or whatever, you could like your independent variable would be heat, for example. So if you're like, well, I want to try to find out if maybe heat causes this water to boil. So you take some water, which would be um, the effect would be your dependent variable, the boiling water. So you would need the heat. You'd have to vary that heat to determine whether it does cause the water to boil. So maybe at a low temperature it doesn't boil, high temperature does. Bam. So you have to vary that variable, or you have to manipulate the variable to determine whether it is the cause or not. Putting your finger in the water doesn't do anything. You might as well just be a monkey. You're not conducting any scientific experiment by dipping your finger in a water or walking by and be like, that's interesting. Like, that's not science. Cause and effect. Effect, dependent variable. Cause, independent variable that you have to determine whether that is actually a valid independent variable or the cause. Oh, we got it in the chat as well. Right. So the observation would be, well, we see the springs hot, boiling. I wonder why. Then you put together a hypothesis. Then you conduct your hypothesis test. It's all in the chat, bro. Cooked. Sufficiently cooked. Can you do a cause and effect of a shape question? Yeah, that's a. Vivachi says, of course you can. What do you mean? What? Is this thing still on? You guys hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you, bro. You're good.
Let me drop out, rejoin. No, I'm just kidding. What happened to 2N when we get cooked?
Did you broke his mic? Yeah, I think that's right.
I just roasted him into oblivion. Holy.
In order to do the scientific method, in order to perform it, you have to have a variable that you can manipulate.
All of you hold to a flat Earth.
You're isolated. Can you do that?
Right. So creating artificial gravity.
No,
right? That's part of the experiment.
You don't even no, bro. What is gravity?
What is gravity?
Yeah.
The effect of mass.
It's an effect. You're supposed to be proving it's the cause of something.
Wait, he said the concept is an effect of another concept. The gravity, the concept, is an effect of mass, the concept.
Your independent variable has to fucking exist. Should be plenty of it lying around in nature. Just go get some, bro. You don't have to create no artificial shit. Go and grab your bucket full of gravity and then manipulate it and show how it causes a gas pressure gradient. Off you go.
So if I go out in nature and test for the gas pressure gradient, right? What experiment do I need to use to determine that?
That is a you problem, bro.
Well, I guess I should ask Lats because we were the one having the conversation about it previously.
Well, once you have the gas pressure, that's the whole heliocentric ball tart idea debunked right there. Once you got the gas pressure, once you have a reading of that, once you take the first breath of air, that's it. The globe is debunked. And
wait, so then maybe I'm just misunderstanding someone's position individually in here. Is it the case that all of you hold to a flat Earth that doesn't have an atmosphere, or?
I guess that's a contradiction of terms. That doesn't exist in reality.
Didn't he just say?
Well, what if I said atmos? What if I said atmos partial sphere? How about that?
What the fuck?
It's just it's air, gas pressure. Is the air, the pressure around you.
Gases don't form shapes, dude.
Atmosphere will be a contradiction because atmos is air. Sphere is a shape, and gases have no shape.
So then, under the flat Earth that you guys are proposing, there is no, I guess.
There is real stuff like the realist level, the gas pressure, the water, that stuff.
What do you mean the gas pressure is real? Can you explain that a little better?
When you expand your lungs and the volume, you expand the volume of your lungs and the gas pressure.
Well, the lungs are taking in
the pressure.
Well, they're taking in the gas, the molecules of gas.
Yeah, the gas pressure and the antecedent.
That's creating the pressure.
And the cause of the gas pressure is the force that the gases exert on the walls of the container. So that's the globe debunked right there.
No, I'm asking you, what is it that's containing the gas under the flat Earth idea? That's what I'm trying to understand.
The antecedent, the cause of the gas pressure, the antecedent to it, the thing that precedes the effect.
Right, I'm asking you what that thing is. What is that
antecedent? The antecedent, the container.
You saying what is the container? That's what I'm asking you for. Like, what's the description? What's the property?
The container.
What are the properties of this container? That's what I'm asking you about.
Like, I don't care about the properties. I don't need to know the color, the taste, the size, the whatever, the makeup of it. I don't need to know that. We have gas pressure.
So you don't know the property of the container that's holding the gas?
We have the effect as a cause and effect relationship of the antecedent, and we require an antecedent, which is a container, because gas pressure, the thing that you breathe in, the thing that we have in reality, requires a container, because that will be the cause of the gas pressure.
May I jump in for a second?
Go for it.
Yeah. So if you asked us to demonstrate, right, to show you like a smaller scale demonstration to back our claim up, right, we can easily show that, right? We can demonstrate that to have gas pressure, you will need a physical container of some type, right?
Okay, sure, I grant that.
Yeah, so if we were to ask you to do the same thing with your gravity is holding down, you can have gas pressure without a container, right? And gravity would be the container. And we asked you to replicate that in a lab or in an experiment of some kind on a smaller scale, you wouldn't be able to do that. That's the difference. Right? We have the definition of gas pressure, says that the necessary antecedent to gas pressure is a container. Right.
Okay.
And then we have the definition of gas particle movement, right, which clearly states that gas particles move at random in all directions. Right. They don't have like a down. Yeah.
We just don't have the definition. The definition is a consequence of the phenomena.
That's fine.
The definitions is a consequence of the actual phenomena that is being observed. Gas pressure and the way it's demonstrated,
right.
And to be able to have the effect, the cause is required, and as a consequence, the container.
The cause is the container, right? The cause is the container
because the gases expand and in all directions and push against the container, causing the pressure.
So presumably, we'd be able to test the particulars of this container, right? Like what the composite material would be made out of?
I mean, you're going to go to the extents of reality and check it yourself. Go ahead. Nobody's stopping you, right?
Right.
Is the container over the immediate surface of the flat Earth, or is it encapsulating because presumably you guys, I guess I'm just not understanding what everybody's individual model, or what you guys would say the concept of this thing is, right?
Concept will be you were saying gravity is the container or something like that. You were mentioning gravity, but that will be the concept. The container is realist level stuff, reality.
Right. I'm asking you what that thing is. Can I go out and test the material of the container of which holds
You
all of
asking
those,
what is it?
those gases.
What it is the antecedent to the effect, right?
We've already been over this,
You ask,
right?
yeah,
You're
but you
just
asking
saying the
what is
same
made
thing.
of. What you actually asking is what is made of, how big it is, what's the color, what's the taste of it. That's what
what's
you're
wrong with that?
asking. I don't know.
So are you just saying that we can't test the composite material of the container?
Yes, you can test it. You can test for the pressure that is around you. You can expand your lungs, and you're gonna have the pressure going inside of that volume.
So again, we're talking past each other, right? The effect is what you refer to as the gas molecules being inhaled into
the
our
walls
lungs.
of the container, causing the pressure.
Okay, right. So the analogy here is the lungs, right?
The lung is an example of a volume that you can manipulate,
Right,
and
that's an analogy.
Will receive the pressure that is already there. If there wasn't a containment, right, the gases will be expanding, and you wouldn't be able to breathe air because the gases wouldn't rush towards your lungs. They will rush towards the available medium that is away from your lungs. But because there is a containment, you are inside a container, that fixed volume allows you to expand your lungs and be able to get the pressure that you can breathe.
That's what I'm asking you is what is that container?
Wait,
you're asking again, what is it made of?
Wait, nobody's stopping, Maxim, nobody's stopping you from going to, if you're so curious about it, nobody's stopping you from, going to wherever you need to go test whatever the properties.
But that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking you guys for clarification. Like, is there a specific direction in which
listen? You're gonna have to pray to God and ask Him for revelation and tell you what is it made of. That's what you're gonna have to do at this point.
Wait. So then you're okay. So then, are you making a reference to like the biblical idea of the flat Earth?
Not biblical.
If that's the case,
not biblical. The thing is that you're asking for something that is out of my reach, right? What we can demonstrate is the gas pressure.
You're saying the same thing over and you're saying the same thing over and over again, right? And I'm specifically asking you, like, is this container something that I could go out into reality and engage with physically?
Why don't you go and try it for yourself? Why are you asking us?
That's what I'm asking you. Because this is part of your model. This is part of the whole idea,
you
right?
You can breathe air. Yes, you can. Yes, you can breathe
that's
air.
Not, okay, that's not helping what I'm asking you. I've already granted to you that you can breathe air, right?
You're
breaking up really bad. I didn't hear like the last 2-3
evidence and how to experience it. Like you can do that by breathing.
I've already said this multiple times. Okay. I'm granting you that is the experience that we're having, right? I'm saying beyond the analogy of our lungs being this container.
It's not an analogy.
So
you are having a direct experience with pressurized air when you breathe.
Right. So this pressurized air is presumably in another container, correct? Not just my lungs.
It has to be. How do you pressurize
it? Has to be.
Listen.
Okay. And I've granted you all of that. I've granted you all of that.
Good.
What
is
the container?
What I want from you is evidence from the kinetic molecular theory of gas that gravitation causes pressurization.
I'm honestly not familiar with what you're asking, but I really don't see what this has to do with what I said.
Well, so natural law, specifically Avogadro's law, demonstrates something called the mass-independent nature of gas pressure. If it's mass independent, it's therefore gravity independent.
If it's mass independent, it's therefore gravity independent?
Right. Because there's no mass gravity interaction with gas molecules. Period. Gas pressure is not dictated by the mass of gas molecules. It's dictated only by the frequency.
Okay.
Number of times gas molecules
we're going all over the place.
No, we're not.
Because originally, no, trust me, we are.
No. Gas pressure is caused by the frequency of gas molecules, the number of moles that hit a surface.
What are you talking about when you say frequency?
How many moles of gas hit a pressure plate?
Yeah.
Over time.
Okay, so is there a pressure plate somewhere outside of my immediate lungs and my body?
A barometer.
That's retained. No. Oh my God. So there's a giant barometer outside of the Earth?
No, there's a container. Physical boundary layer.
Okay, that's what I'm asking you. What is that thing? Like, what's it made out of?
I don't know. It's not a gravitational field, though.
So is there any way to test what this container is made out of? Like, that's what I'm asking you guys. I'm just asking, like, is it possible to test the container?
I got you. It's made out of stars, the sun, the moon, clouds, the sky. That's what it's made of. How do you like that?
No, I'm asking you, is it something akin to like the Truman Show, where he goes up and walks through a door in the sky? Is it made of composite material like that?
He didn't go through a door in the
Is my mic working? Is my mic working?
Oh my God.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so the argument is this. This is a necessary and sufficient condition argument, okay? So Y is a necessary condition of X, right? So container is a necessary condition of gas pressure.
I've already granted you. I've already granted you this.
Okay, fine. So we know there's a container. Existence, whether something exists, is a different question than knowing its composition. Right?
I've already told you. I've granted this. I'm asking: is there a way to test the composition of the thing?
Can you answer the question? Well, we don't know the composition.
I'm asking you. Okay, is there a way to test for it? That's what I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
We don't know that either.
Okay, that's fine. Guys. That's literally all I've been asking for.
One part of it we do. One part.
Jesus Christ!
I told you that already. Dude, I don't know. I told you that multiple times.
What?
Gemsy did tell you. We don't know. Nobody knows. We don't even know if that question makes sense.
Are there any? Oh my God! Are there any proposed ideas as to how you might be able to test it, or is it just like it just is what it is? Like there's no way to test it. It just kind of throw our hands up in the air, like fuck it.
Okay, let me ask you this. Can you test where the edge of the universe is?
Well, that assumes there's an edge to the universe, and I didn't think you thought the universe was real because that includes space.
What do you? No, the universe just means everything. That's the definition.
I don't know what that means. Is that everything? Is that everything within my local like experience, like the parking lot that I'm looking at? Is that everything?
Yeah, everything is the universe. Universe, all in one. Then the monad, brother. Okay? So, in the modern cosmology, they say that the universe is bounded, even though it's expanding, right? So it has a boundary limited by the amount of time that it's been since the Big Bang. Right?
Okay.
So, where's the edge? That's really the question you're asking. Where's the edge? What's the edge made of? This is stupid, ridiculous nonsense. Okay, so
well, no, it's not because I'm not postulating that the edge of the universe is a physical container. That's a distinction.
Oh, so what's beyond it?
What's causing the vacuum then? If it's not a container,
what is that? Oh my God! I never said anything. You guys are jumping all over the place. We're sticking on one point, right?
Yeah,
gas.
So
I've already agreed to you that gas is expanding in all expanding in all directions, right? Well, you can't stick on one point, asshole.
Yeah,
so
I can't stick on one point. No, listen. I'm applying.
You're jumping to the edge of the universe and conflating what you refer to as a container as to the edge of the universe, right? So let's say I don't know. Let's say I don't know what's at the edge of the universe. What does that have to do?
You just want a monologue, bro. That shit ain't happening. It isn't the Maxim show. Now we're gonna have a dialogue and not a monologue. You capiche? You understand? It's going to be a dialogue, not a monologue.
So is it a dialogue between you and me or three other people?
You didn't even rub me when I was telling you that, dude. It's crazy.
You just went on to go on about something completely irrelevant to what we were talking about.
No, I was trying. Listen, I tried to explain to you what the relevance was, but you just decided to yap. Okay, so let me tell you what the relevance is because you're not getting it. When you say the edge of the universe or the edge of anything, that assumes that it is embedded in a larger space. In mathematics, this is called the embedding space. Okay, right? You understand?
No, I don't. You'll have to explain that.
What embedding
I'm not just going to grant to you everything you're trying to push through.
This is in your own paradigm. You don't even know this?
What are you talking about, my own paradigm?
Guess you're uneducated or something. In your own paradigm, there's something called an embedding space. The geometry for which everything is embedded inside. Things like planets, stars, galaxies, all that. They're embedded inside the universe. Outside the universe, asking that question is nonsensical because it's outside of the embedding space. You can't know what's outside the embedding space, right? You can't even know what the embedding space is unless you're outside of it, right? So asking questions like, what's the boundary? What's it made out of? These questions can't be answered by anybody, ever. And this was proven like nearly 2,000 years ago by Zeno, with Zeno's paradox. So if you say, the universe is bounded, or is it unbounded? How can you prove that? Can you prove it with logic? Can you prove it with mathematics? Can you prove it with geometry? The answer to these questions is no, you can't. Because no matter where you say it is, someone can say, oh, that's shit. They can say, what's beyond that? You can still hear me because my computer just looks like it died.
No, you're good. Still hear you.
Okay, so someone can always, my screen just blacked out for no reason. Someone can always say, what's beyond that, right? And then it's a million miles from there, there's another freaking container. Okay, what's beyond that? Oh, a million miles from there, there's another container. And you can just do this forever and ever and ever. The question can't be answered because it leads to an infinite regression fallacy. So when you're asking us, where's the container? What's it made out of? You're asking us, hey, what's the earth inside? We don't know what the earth is inside. We don't know if the earth is inside of anything in that sense, as being embedded inside a larger space. The same way you draw a box, it would be on the piece of paper. Piece of paper would be the embedding space. The box would be the object, right? So you're asking us, where does the earth end and the paper begin? I don't fucking know. The earth is the paper. Asking what's outside it is a nonsensical question. But I gotta reboot my computer because this shit ain't working.
So since the gas pressure is defined as being the force exerted on the walls of the container by the gas particles, right? Well, we know that the gas particles are exerting a force on some parts of our immediate physical reality, and that would be the surface below us. So we can tell you something about that, right? If you're interested.
What do you mean by the surface below us? I just didn't understand that part.
Well, the thing that we live on. So we can tell you lots about that because we have direct immediate access to it.
Okay. What you made reference to the pressure of the surface below. So are you talking about the composition of the soil? What are you referring to exactly?
Just stop already.
I know questions are a bitch.
We can tell you that the surface of liquid, which gas, there is an interface between, the liquid and air, right? So gas molecules are colliding with that surface. And when it's what they consider to be at rest, liquid, it's horizontal, right?
Yep, because air pressure is pressing down on it in all directions, straight across.
He took off. No, you see, Maxim's still there.
Air pressure is pushing down on what?
Pushing everywhere in all directions. So if it's if you're walking, there's air under you too.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Air pressure. You know, if you remove air pressure, water won't exist.
Yeah, if you expose liquid to a vacuum, what happens to it?
Okay.
What happens
Mercury
to it?
too, not just water. Mercury too.
So if you expose gas to a vacuum, right, it fills it, right?
Sure.
Okay, so then if you were to just continuously, if you okay, Red One's got a vacuum chamber, right?
Right.
And he's gonna fill it with air, right? He's just gonna allow it to fill with the same air pressure outside. He's gonna take the lid off. It's gonna fill with air pressure, right? Just the same atmosphere he's breathing, right? Sorry for using.
Right. The gas will disperse, and the air pressure will equalize in the container that's open.
And then he's going to put a container of water inside this vacuum chamber. He's going to put the lid on. Okay, so there's air in there and a container of water.
Sure.
Now he's going to turn on his vacuum pump, and he's going to start removing the air, as much air out of there as he can, right? And what happens to the water in the vacuum chamber?
It evaporates.
Turns to gas and goes in all directions, including leaving the vacuum chamber. I have a vacuum chamber. I know. I do this trick for these people. It made some people never come back. They got so mad at me.
This is supposed to be a critique of the globe Earth idea. Is that correct?
Well, it's a contrast between what you can actually demonstrate, observe, experience, measure, and demonstrate, right? Versus that which you just simply believe and can't demonstrate to be true.
Yeah, it will be a demonstration of what happens in reality, contrary to the globe claim that claims the opposite that happens in reality.
So the biggest pushback, right, is that the idea is supposed to be that given the globe model or their proposed idea for what the composition of the Earth is, shape-wise, is that the water and the gas would just dispel into the vacuum of space, right? That's the problem.
That's not really a geometry claim. That's just a claim that, there's this gaseous pressurized system existing adjacent to an ever-expanding low-pressure vacuum.
Right. The reason
the issue
why
with the globe is the issue about that is that if the gases were in a vacuum, the gases will expand, and then the water that requires a certain pressure to be in the liquid state will also evaporate. But in reality, we have a contained environment. We have gas pressure and liquid water in that environment, contained environment. Which is
we don't have a completely contained environment, right?
We have a dynamic system, and it has to be contained.
Well, gas escapes regardless, right? Like in small amounts, the gas escapes the atmosphere as is proposed.
If you have a container and then you poke a hole in it, you know what happens. Let's say you have a very high pressure, a pressure container, and then you poke it. The pressure it equalizes. It rush outside of that container violently.
Right.
Yeah, but you don't have that happening within this system. You do have high pressure and low pressure. You have storms and that kind of stuff, right? but within this dynamic system that you have heat and cold, right? But if
Right,
the
due to
container
the
was
atmosphere.
if the container was open like they claim on the globe, the gases in your lungs will rush out of your lungs violently.
Right, but the model that you're proposing is that the container is the atmosphere.
No, the atmosphere is the atmosphere is the gases. The
Right,
atmosphere is a contradiction of terms.
The gases make up the container. Why is that?
The
I don't
gases.
understand what that is.
You're saying that the gases contain the gases. That's a nonsense claim.
Why is that a nonsense claim? If there's thicker
Can you go to the store? Can you go to the propane guy and tell him, "Hey, can I get some propane? But I don't need the container. I just want to take the gases because I got gases to contain. That's container." Can you actually do that?
Just fill up this container that's made of
gases,
oxygen. I've got some.
Well, can you go to, listen, can you go to the tire?
Yeah, I can explain.
I imagine you drive, right? Can you go to the tire guy and say, "Hey, tire guy, can you put the pressure around the rims of the car? But I don't need the tire because I know, there's gases around, and we don't need the tire to contain the gases."
Right. So if I have a gas, right, that has molecules that don't allow for the other gas to escape, there's your container.
Is that like you made up story? You imagining that?
What's stopping those gases?
It depends on what the composition of those molecules are, right?
Yeah. Do you have a citation for that? What type of gas is that? So we can maybe I don't know, make an invention with it.
I'm literally just telling you what's trivially true, right? Like if
Maxim, what's
trivially true? Then tell us.
What's stopping?
We need a citation, bro.
Maxim, what's stopping
the gases
those
contain gases?
Oh my God!
What is stopping those gases from escaping? So the gas that you're using to contain this other gas, what's stopping that gas from escaping?
The effect of gravity. This is like right back to where we begin. Like I'm just saying, like that's.
You're saying that explains to the propane and you.
Oh my God! This guy again. Jesus Christ!
Oh,
you're cutting out. You're cutting out so bad.
Out.
Yeah, you're robot in there, Jonesy. Is science? Let's go back to the beginning. Is science empirical or is it explanations or models?
Is science empirical or explanations?
Is it based on empirical or is it just a bunch of explanations? Because you're like,
I'm not
gravity
sure.
explains it. Well, you said gravity explains it. Yeah, so what? There's no empirical evidence.
What are you talking about? There's no empirical evidence. The empirical evidence is the effect that it has on the gas.
Okay.
Like this goes exactly back to what we were talking about, right? Like if I conduct the experiment, right, and one of the variables is the effect of gravity on those molecules, and we observe that effect, right?
No, we don't. What are you talking about? No, we don't.
I'm saying, oh my God. What do you mean we don't? We don't observe the effect of.
So I'll tell you the experiment we can do to show that we don't observe that effect. We have a vacuum chamber. We insert gas into the vacuum chamber just a little bit. The gas doesn't settle to the bottom. It distributes evenly throughout the entire chamber until it reaches thermodynamic equilibrium. There's no theory of gravity in the kinetic theory of gases whatsoever.
There's no theory of gravity in the kinetic theory of gases? Is that what you said?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
there's no little g. There's no little g or big G.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you saying
isn't the kinetic theory of gases just explaining what gas does if it's not inside of the container?
How would they know?
I'm asking if that's all that it's stating, right? If that's what that independent. What do you mean no? So that's not what it's doing?
It's a model of gas behavior. Okay, I think you're getting confused. Models don't explain things. Models describe things. Describe versus explain. Describe tells you how. Explain tells you why.
All right, give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Yeah. How long has this been going on?
Quite a while.
Yeah, well.
T-Dog, you DM me last night. That dude, man. I listened for a second to, what was his fucking name? I don't remember. Damn, what a douche that guy was. You don't understand what Qualcomm's pendulum does. Why does the pendulum go in a circle?
Right, yeah.
He didn't know. He didn't know, T-Dub. He didn't know it's supposed to be the Earth spinning underneath the pendulum.
No, he didn't. He was totally lost once I started talking about how it remains in a fixed plane while the Earth turns underneath. He was like, huh? What?